What is up, everybody? Right here, and we are back with some more Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. However, today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We are going to run through my way too early ultimate tier list. I like to do these tier lists sometimes when a game warrants it. You know, this game has a lot of subclasses and guns, and so I thought it would be fun to go in and rank them based on how I have 40 plus hours in this game. I've cleared Hazard 5 several times. I've played and unlocked every single class and subclass, so you can see we have everything. We have every class unlocked. I do not have every weapon unlocked though. That is still a little bit ways off, but I wanted to jump in here, do a tier list, and that's why we're calling this the way too early tier list. Things will obviously change. Maybe we'll do another tier list in a month, maybe after some balance updates come out, because I do think there needs to be some balance updates. Mostly, I don't think any class is overpowered, though. I will say that. Yeah, us YouTubers use that term a lot in our titles and our thumbnails, but, you know, that's just, we need to get people into our channel, and people like that. But I don't think any class is necessarily overpowered. I don't think there really needs to be any nerfs to anyone. However, I do think a few characters need buffs. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go through each class. We're gonna go through the scout and all his subclasses, the gunner, driller, and engineer, and then we'll rank them. You can see S to D. I have all the classes down here that I have made a tier list. I am kind of winging this. I am not a professional editor. I have multiple screens up. I have my Deep Rock Galactic Survivor wiki up so I can remember all the weapons that every class has. I am by no means the expert matter in this game. However, I do have a lot of time played, and I think I have a relatively okay idea about what classes are strong. So let's just jump right into it. Let's start off with the scout. The scout is going to be the most nimble of dwarves. The scout relies on long-range weapons and increased mobility to faster explore and escape the dangers of Hoxxes 4. So they're going to get three classes: classic, scout, or classic, recon, and then the sharpshooter. Let's start off with the classic. Classic is going to get 10% movement speed and 20 max HP, and they're going to start off with the deep core GK2, which is an assault rifle. This class I think is okay. This class is just okay. The movement speed is okay, but the max HP really isn't that much. Because if we go look at the starting screen, you can see the scout only starts off with 120 HP. So even if you give them 20 HP, they still have lower HP than two of the other classes. The only one they're going to be higher than is the engineer. So the 20 HP really isn't that big of a deal. And this class starts off with a pretty high crit damage though, so that is nice. However, I do think the classic scout is probably the weakest of the scout classes. So we're gonna put this guy right at C tier. We're only going to D. That's as low as we're going. We're not gonna do an F tier or anything. Next up, we're gonna have the recon class. Recon class is a little bit better. We're gonna get access to light weapons, which I think works well with this class. This is gonna be your more nimble, really quick class. 25% dodge is actually pretty helpful, and that's a really high percentage dodge chance, if you ask me. Most games usually start out lower. 25% dodge means you're dodging 1 in 4 hits. That's a lot. That could be 60 damage you're negating from an explosion or from an elite hit. You're negating a lot of damage when you dodge something. So having a 1 in 4 chance of doing that's really good. That's really good. And then on top of that, when you dodge, you get the movement speed and reload speed. So cool class. They're gonna start off with the Nux 17, which I think is a very viable weapon, especially once you get it overclocked and you start doing the spiral attacks. So good class. Not quite S tier, but we are going to put, let's see, I'm gonna try my hardest to like keep it on here. We're gonna put the recon up at A. I think it's a solid class. I think you could probably get through. I have gotten through Hazard 4. You might be able to do Hazard 5 with this class. Who knows? I haven't quite attempted it yet, but I do think it's a solid class, and it's worth trying out. Okay, the next up we're gonna have the Sharpshooter. Sharpshooter is going to release a shrapnel explosion when doing overkill damage. We are going to get 15% critical chance and an additional 50% critical damage. So that's going to automatically put us at 20% crit chance, and that's going to put us at 250 crit damage right off the get, because this class does start off with the highest critical damage. So they get 250 crit damage, and then it pairs perfectly. This class pairs perfectly with the M1000 Classic, because it's going to shoot, not only does it shoot high damaging bullets, but it's gonna pierce, and it's gonna target the highest HP enemy. That's perfect. This is the type of weapon and class you need to carry you through the game. Sometimes a lot of these classes don't have this high damage weapon to kill bosses, and we'll get to those in a little bit. We'll kind of pinpoint what classes those are, but you really need a class that's going to be a boss killer. It doesn't matter how many mobs you kill. If you can't kill the boss quick enough, you're going to get swarmed. And so with this class having the M1000 Classic, literally perfect. You couldn't have picked a better weapon for this character. Because one, when you get this overclocked, you're going to get the Thick Boy. And the Thick Boy is going to combine all your bullets into one. And if you build it correctly, you'll be doing an insane amount of damage. If you build it with like crit damage, crit chance, and reload speed, not only will you be shredding all the enemies around you because you're going to be releasing the shrapnel from overkill damage, but you're going to be shredding the boss too, because you're going to be doing insane damage. I've seen people crit for you know, like 50 to 100,000. So if you build it right, it's a super good class. So I think that just automatically is going to that's automatically going to put this class at S tier. This guy, the Sharpshooter, can clear Hazard 5. There's not a lot of classes that I can say that very confidently, but the Sharpshooter can clear Hazard 5. And so because of that, boom, S tier. Definitely one of the strongest classes in the game. All right, next up we have the Gunner. The Gunner is my personal favorite, and I might be a little biased with this one. So again, take all this with a grain of salt. These are my personal opinions. The Gunner, let's go to the Gunner starting screen. They're going to start off with the most HP, which is nice. Having a lot of HP in this game is really important, because you are going to get hit a lot. It's really hard to dodge everything. So I think having high HP and high armor is really beneficial. And so we're going to start off with the Weapon Specialist. For every 100 projectiles fired, you shoot 8 high-powered projectiles in all directions. And then you're going to start off with the Leadstorm minigun. The minigun is an okay weapon. I think it requires very specific overkills. I believe you can get Pierce on it and fire modifications on it. If you can get that, I think it's incredibly good. But it is also one of those guns that shoots straight ahead of you. It does have a wide arc, though. I think it's like 180 degrees. So basically, literally anything that's standing in front of you, even if it's to the side of you, you're going to be able to hit. So it does have a good radius. But the fact that it's still only shooting in front of you kind of knocks it down a little bit. They do get some other good guns, like they get access to the projectile weapons, because basically with this build, you want to have weapons that can shoot a lot of bullets and really fast, because you want to get those 8 high-powered projectiles in all directions. It's not, I don't think it's the best. It's actually probably the weakest gunner build, I think. So with that, we'll put, let's see, we got Weapon Specialist. We're gonna put you at B tier. I do think the gunner just is innately a good class. So even though this is the weakest one, I still think it's a solid B. Next up, we're gonna have the Juggernaut. Juggernaut is a really good class. They are going to get an additional 10 armor and an additional 50% max HP. However, they do take they're gonna get a weapon range reduction, but that's okay, because with one of these guys, you're gonna try to be building some of your higher powered weapons. Like you're for one, you're gonna start off with a heavy revolver, which is a really strong weapon. It shoots big slugs that squish bugs. It's gonna target the closest enemy. It's actually a pretty strong weapon though. And the Juggernaut's also gonna get access to the Thunderhead, which is an incredibly powerful weapon. And then on top of this, when you take damage, you're gonna gain a 10% damage buff, which stacks up to 5 times. So you can stack up to 50 additional damage. I don't think the range decrease is really that big of a deal because bugs are always going to be on you. And if you get a few weapons that have piercing, you're going to be shredding them anyways. And then on top of having the additional armor and the additional max HP, just incredible. It's a really good class. So with that, we're going to put the Juggernaut right at A tier. And then the last one is the Heavy Gunner. Heavy Gunner is going to get access to heavy weapons. You're going to get a minus 10% movement speed, but you're going to get extra weapon range and you're going to get reload speed. But here's the real kicker with this class. You're going to start out with the Thunderhead heavy autocannon, which I think is one of the best guns in the game. It's going to shoot a barrage of exploding projectiles in one direction, and it's going to target, again, as we mentioned before, it's going to target the highest HP enemy. This gun does have a pretty low range, so you do need to make sure that if you want to hit the boss, you need to be relatively close to them. But with this, you are getting with the Heavy Gunner, you are getting that 25% extra weapon range, which is really good, and it pairs well with the heavy autocannon. The autocannon, you can actually get piercing bullets on it too, which I know we weren't going to say is OP, but I think that's incredibly strong, getting piercing bullets on the Thunderhead. And then once you get the max 18 overclock, you're shooting it like a machine gun. It's going to just have, I think it gets like 150% fire rate or something. It just unloads all these bullets and they explode. And you can just shred everything if you get piercing on it. It's absolutely insane. I did a video with this where I cleared Hazard 5 and it was easy. It was easy. It wasn't even really a challenge. So along with the sharpshooter, Heavy Gunner is going straight up into our S tier. I think it's mainly starting off with the Thunderhead as your main weapon. All these other classes can get the Thunderhead, like the Juggernaut and the Weapon Specialist, I believe. But this guy starts out with it. So you're just going to be, you don't need to worry about re-rolling. You're going to get the Thunderhead right away, and you can just level this up as quick as you want, and you'll just be demolishing everybody. It's really good. It's really good. Highly recommend it. I think the Gunner I feel like the Gunner is underrated because I think a lot of people go towards the Sharpshooter and then maybe even the Engineer. But I think the Gunner might be the best class in the game. These up here, I'm not ordering these in any specific order. These are just S and A, so don't pay attention to the order here. I think these are both really good classes. I guess if I had to, I would probably put him ahead, but again, I'm not putting these in order. We're just gonna go S, A, B, C, D. Okay, let's go to our third class. We have the Driller. Driller is, I know a lot of people like the Driller. I don't particularly like the Driller that much. I don't think they get access to some very good weapons. Let me pull up the wiki so I can make sure that I am well versed in what they have, because I want to make sure I don't forget. But they get the flamethrower. They do get the fire turret, which is really good. But then they get things like the wave cooker, the sludge pump, neurotoxin grenade. A lot of their weapons are status effect attacks, and I don't think status effect attacks are very viable in this game. I just don't think they are. It's really cool to get a lot of them out there, and it's really good at killing mobs. But like we talked about earlier, you need to kill the bosses. I have personally struggled with this class to kill the boss, especially on the higher hazards like 4 and 5. So it's tough. It's tough because they don't really have that one good weapon like the Thunderhead or the M1000 Classic that you can pair with all your AoE damage and just destroy that boss. Because if you're not killing the boss quick enough, you're going to you're going to get swarms and swarms of enemies that are going to get more and more powerful, and eventually they'll just overrun you, and you're not doing enough damage on the boss. So it's tough. But let's go through the rankings. That general statement kind of applies to all of these classes. So we could probably move through him a little bit quicker because that's why this class I think this is probably the weakest overall class in the game. But we will start off with the Foreman. When mining, you're going to gain 2% mining speed. So you're going to get, for 2 seconds, up to 25 times. So that's going to give you 50% mining speed. That's actually really good. It's really good, especially if you want to mine resources. If you are trying to farm resources, the Foreman is probably the best class for that. No other class is going to be able to mine as quick. So if you want to mine resources, like, what's good about this class too is if you're not killing that well, you can farm up gold and nitro really well because you can just run through the map and you'll have that extra mining speed and you'll just get all the resources you need. So if you're not quite killing as many things as you want to and you're not getting all that XP, you will make up for it by getting the gold and nitro so you can do your level ups at the end of a stage. But if you want to get like the meta resources, this is going to be the best class for that. So because of like that little extra caveat, we are going to put the Foreman at B tier. No, I know I almost put him at A tier. He's not going A tier. Foreman's going to be one of the better driller classes. Next up, we have the Interrogator. Give access to fire and acid weapons. We are going to get a straight minus 30% damage, and we're going to get 100% status effect damage. Again, this goes to the whole thing I said. I really want to like the status effect builds, but I struggle with them. And I think the Crisper Flamethrower is an absolute horrible weapon. You really need to get lucky with beams, range, and that's the only way to make it somewhat viable, but otherwise I still think it's a really weak weapon. And they do get access to the acid and the sludge pump. The sludge pump is a pretty good weapon, but again, it suffers from that status effect damage where it makes it really hard to kill and move through the higher difficulty levels. So because of that, we are going to put him at C tier. Or no, sorry. This guy goes to D tier. This is what I think is probably one of the worst subclasses in the game. And then last we have Strong Armed. Strong Armed I think is relatively good. We're going to get access to throwable weapons. Throwable weapons in this game I think are not bad. Are they great? Not all of them. The axe is okay. I think the axe could be a little bit better. Hold on 1 second. The impact axe I think is pretty good. It's going to target your closest enemy and it returns to you and it does damage. It does decent damage. It's not like amazing. You can build it up a little bit to again get AoE status effect damage. You can get like a fire trail or you can get acid. But you're also, with this class, you're going to get access to more throwable weapons and you're going to get extra range with them. Some of the throwables are really good, like the tactical lead burster, I think it's called. I think that's a good weapon. But again, you need to get like piercing, you need to get status effects on it. So this class does kind of suffer from the same thing because a lot of the throwables are a lot of them are status effect damage. So it's tough because you don't have that boss killer that all the other classes have. So we're gonna put Strong Armed at C tier. Okay, so here's our current list. All right, and then lastly, we have the Engineer. The Engineer started out as my favorite class, and it still might be. I think the engineer is a really, 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 really good class. I think the turrets are really fun and they can be really powerful. So right off the get, let's go to the engineer. This is going to be kind of like your smart class. They're going to get, their biggest benefit is they're going to get the extra XP gain, so they get extra 5%. The first subclass is the maintenance worker, and they're going to get access to your construct weapons. These are kind of like your drones and your turrets, and they're really, really good. The LMG gun turret is really good. The flamethrower turret is really good. And then some of the drones are pretty good too. So this class is just overall really good. You're going to get 10% damage and then 10% reload speed with these. So you're just going to make them an already strong weapon even stronger. So I really, really like this class. I think it's really solid. I love turret builds. I think turret builds are totally viable in this game. I haven't cleared Hazard 5 with it yet, but I think it's there, and I think it's really close. So we can't quite put this at S tier, but we will put it at A tier, because I think the maintenance worker is one of the classes that could do it. Next up, we have the Tinkerer. This is a really cool and interesting class because they are going to start all weapons at level 3. This means you're going to get more overclocks, potentially, and they're going to get a 10% XP gain. So you should focus on overclocking probably as many weapons as you can, because you're getting you're technically getting 2 free levels on all your guns, and on top of that, you're getting extra XP. They're going to start off with the Warthog gun, which is, it's a good gun. I think if you can get it with the plasma overclock and shoot in front and behind you, I think it becomes a really solid weapon. It's a little lackluster maybe in the beginning though, because it's one of those weapons that shoots in front of you. So it's not, I don't really think it's a carry weapon. You're probably gonna need to get a flamethrower turret to make this run viable. Just because the Warthog is good late game, but it does really suffer from early game. It makes it a little bit harder to kill enemies because you don't have a turret and you have to run to enemies in front of you. And the engineer is the second squishiest class in the game. So it's good, but because it has sort of a weaker starting weapon, we're gonna put you at B tier. And then last but not least, we have the Demolitionist. The Demolitionist is going to gain access to explosive weapons. You're going to get the 20% explosion radius and the 20% reload speed, and then you're going to start off with shoot grenades faster. It's going to target the closest enemy. This class comes with like a caveat. I hate the Demolitionist. And here's why. It's not that the weapons are necessarily weak or not powerful, because I think the explosive weapons are pretty decent. But what makes this class hard is when you're exploding bugs, it is impossible to see where you're going. It makes it so hard. If you are running straight forward into bugs, did you kill that bug with the explosion? Who knows? There's a huge ass explosion on the screen and you can't tell if you did or not. It's so ridiculous. It's so hard to see. It's so hard to tell. And it almost makes it unplayable a bit for me at times, especially when there's a lot of bugs on the screen and you're getting surrounded. And you can make really clutch exits in this game, especially with a gun like the Thunderhead. If you just blast a hole through the big swarm, you know you can run right through it. Or with some of your other weapons, you can see a clear line that you're clearing. But when you have explosions all over the screen, you can't see. You can't see what died or where you're running. You don't know if you cleared a hole or not. So I mean, I absolutely hate this class. We're putting you D tier. This is probably one of my most hated classes in the game. I've tried it before. I don't think it's This is all personal bias. I think the class is pretty strong. I think I almost cleared Hazard 4 with it on my very first attempt playing with it, so it's not that it's a weak class, but the reason I died was because I could not see anything. I did not know if I was running through a swarm or if I was running through a gap that I cleared. It's so it's so hard, and I hate the explosive weapons like that just have these huge explosions, and you'll see it too. Once you jump in and you play with this deep core, you're gonna see the explosions, and you'll probably notice it right away as you're trying to run through a swarm. You won't even miss it. You're gonna see those big explosions, and you'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, I hate the Demolitionist. Just horrible class. It's probably the one class I'll probably never really play, just because of that. Because I like screen clarity. I like to know where I'm running and things like that. So there we go, everybody. Here is our ultimate tier list. This was really fun. I really enjoyed doing this. I hope you enjoyed watching it. All right, and let's do our final recap right here. We'll just go over like the S tier classes. We don't need to go over all of them. You can check them out. But at S tier, we have the heavy gunner and the sharpshooter, two of the best, absolute best classes in the game. And again, I don't think they're overpowered. I just think that they are incredibly strong. They are very good classes. They're the only two that I have currently cleared Hazard 5 with. I think the A tier classes are really, really close. Especially the Juggernaut. I think the Juggernaut can do it, and I think the Engineer Maintenance Worker can. Recon is pretty good too, if you can build the Zuck 17 up enough, and it does pretty good. It does really good damage to all the mobs, so I think you really need to focus on that weapon. The other classes, I don't really know if I'll be able to clear like even Hazard 4 or 5 with them. And then these are just, I think, the Interrogator and the Demolitionist, I think, are just the two worst classes in the game. Again, I gave my reasoning for the Demolitionist. It might be an okay class to like clear through Hazard 4, but I hate it. And then the Interrogator, I just don't think is really that good. I don't think status effect builds in this game are going to be that viable, especially towards Hazard 5. But who knows? I'm sure someone out there has done it and will say like, oh, you're wrong. The Interrogator's really incredibly strong. You just have to build him right. But this is all based on my experience. So there we go, everybody. That has been it. I hope you enjoyed watching our tier list. Feel free to drop comments on what you think is the best class. Let's just try to be respectful about it. That's really the only thing I ask. You can disagree with me all you want. You can say my opinions are wrong, and then state your opinions, but don't resort to insults. That's a quick way to get banned if you want to sit there and call me a stupid idiot or any other derogatory terms. Let's just try to stay away from those, because that is the quickest way to get you banned. If you want to disagree with me, I don't care. Go for it. Throw out your opinions. I love it. I would love to hear what you think are the best classes in this game. So there we go, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel. I really enjoy talking about this game. I put a lot of time into it so far, and it's probably one of the best, if not the best, Survivor game on the market. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your day.